Hi everybody. In this PowerPoint, I am going to go over data, but this time I'm going to go over different types of how we can graph data. So as you can see just right off the bat from this first slide, this chart looks different from my last video. My last video was we plotted pictures next to the labels. Over here, we have bars. As you can see, there's 3 bars. And this type of graph is called a bar graph because we're graphing bars to represent how many. So let's start by answering this question. It says, Farron looked around in the attic and found some telephones, violins, and microphones. He made a bar graph of the items that he found. Which item did she find the fewest of? So fewest means least or the smallest. So the items are right here and they're represented by pictures. So we have the telephones here, the violins, and the microphones. Over here towards the left, it says how many, and here are the numbers that go from 0 to 10. And when we're reading a bar graph, we want to read where the bar ends. So over here for telephones, it ends right here at 4. So she had 4 telephones. Violins, it ends right here at 7. So she had 7 violins. And microphones, the bar ends right here at 6. So she had 6 microphones. So we had 4, 7, and 6, which is the smallest number. 4, which is for telephones. So she had the least amount or the fewest telephones. So we would just check off this box here. What is a graph? So here we go now, giving some more information about graphs and what they are. So a graph is a picture that organizes a large amount of information so that it is easier to read. We use graphs to compare things. So in the example that we just did in the slide before, what were we comparing in this graph? We were comparing different types of items that she happened to find in her attic. So we were comparing telephones with violins with microphones. Now graphs come in many different forms. If you saw my last video, the graphs looked at way different than the graph that I just showed here, the bar graph. The graph in my last video was similar to this, where it was represented by pictures. We had the pictures of the farm animals that were listed on there. The animals were drawn out, whereas over here, they were represented by these rectangle bars. So we have bar graphs, which is what we just did in the slide before. We have pie graphs, which looks like a slice of pie. It's a circle and there's different slices to represent the numbers. We have picture graphs, which is what I did in my last video of the farm animals. And then we have line graphs, which is literally just a line, and instead of it being represented by a bar where the line ends, or a slice of pie, or a picture, we graph the point on the line, and then you just kind of fill the line in. So we have different parts of a graph, and we need to know what these parts are in order to be able to read the graph correctly. So in our example that we did, it said, Farron looked around in the attic and found some telephones, violins, and microphones. He made a bar graph of the items that he found. So, what are the 3 items on the graph? In our problem, it says telephones, violins, and microphones. And those are the items, and we have them represented by pictures. What you could have also done was you could have just wrote telephones, violins, and microphones. But for this case, it was just drawn as a picture to represent these 3 items. Now, also, it says how many numbers do you see on the graph. We have how many to represent how many that he found in the attic. So this just went from 0 to 10. And then we have what do the three columns stand for, which would be the bars. What do these bars stand for? So what these three bars stand for is how many of each item was found in the attic. So we know that there were 4 telephones found in the attic, there were 7 violins found in the attic, and there were 6 microphones found in the attic. And remember, to read these bar graphs, we look to see where the rectangle or the bar ends at the number. So over here it's 4, 7, and 6. So we need to be able to know how to use a graph to be able to read it correctly and answer any word problems that are associated with it correctly. So just like how I said before, in this type of graph, we were looking to see how many of each item there were or that he had found in the attic. So just like how I said, you look to see where it ends, or you could even, how over here in this picture where the telephone is, they kind of drew lines just as a better visual so that you can understand how it's 1, 2, 3, 4. But also just seeing where the line ends is a good indicator to tell you how many. So again, we had 4 telephones, 7 violins. So over here would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 6 microphones. And if we were to count, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like how they counted here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go on to a new example, but we're still talking about bar graphs. So each time you see these rectangles, you can think of them as as bars, and that just is the clue right away that you know that what type of graph this is. It's a bar graph. So it says, Anita went shopping for a party and bought some gift boxes, chocolate cakes, and gift bags. She made a bar graph of the supplies that she bought. So right off the bat, it says, what are the 3 party supplies on the graph? So she went shopping for 3 things: gift boxes, chocolate cakes, and gift bags. And we have them listed here. So those are the 3 items that she went shopping for. So we, just like how in my last example it says items, in this example it says party supplies. You could have written items as well. It would have been the same thing. This is just being a little bit more specific. And again, just like in my last slide, how many, and we have 0 to 10. And over here, again, we have how many, we have the number 0 to 10. And we have 3 bars to represent the 3 items that she had bought. So, again, how many numbers do you see on the graph? We see the numbers 0 to 10. And what do the 3 columns stand for? This column stands for how many gift boxes she bought. This purple column stands for how many chocolate cakes she bought. And this blue column or bar stands for how many gift bags she bought. So now the question is, how many of each party supply are there? So now we need to know how to read the graph to be able to answer the question. So we're going to look at the first one, gift boxes. So we're going to see where the bar ends, right here at 8. So we know she bought 8 gift boxes. We're going to do the same for chocolate cakes. We know the bar ends here at 7. So we know she bought 7 chocolate cakes. And then lastly, for gift bags, we see the bar ends here at 9. So we know she bought 9 gift bags. Now, how can you take information and put it on a graph? So this is also a bar graph, except they just kind of flipped it. So ours is going up and down in this one, and in this picture it's going from side to side. This is just another way that you can draw a bar graph. So this problem says Diana is making a bar graph from the data right over here. How many squares should she color for her second row? So this bar graph is about new clothes. So if you see in my other example over here, this bar graph was about party supplies. So we have three different types. We have pants, shoes, and shirts, which are listed here. We have the numbers again, 0 to 10. Over here, they just have number of clothes instead of how many. And now we're just shading in. So we see there's 3 pants. So next to pants, we would fill in 3. 1, 2, 3. And you could see, where does the bar end? Right there by 3. If we filled in more, that would be wrong. We need it to end by the number 3. Now let's save shoes for last. Shirts is 5, so we would shade in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The bar ends right here by the number 5. Now for shoes, it's 2, so we would only shade in 1, 2. We would only shade in this and this square, and we would have it end right there by the number 2. So in this case, we were looking at the numbers this way to see, we were looking at them from up and down to read the numbers, whereas over here we're looking at them in a different way to see how the bar ends. So again, you're just looking to see where does the bar end and reading the number, whereas in this one you're seeing where the bar ends and reading the number. So it's just a different way of how we can draw graphs. So again, this is still a bar graph. So it says, Noah is making a bar graph from the data. How many squares should he color for the third row? So we have color of markers. That's what he's comparing. So we have the 4 colors, green, blue, yellow, and red, which are listed here. Here are labels, colors, and the number of markers. Or again, it's said how many. And we have the numbers 0 to 10. And the title, color of markers. So green, there's 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, you see this dark shaded line tells you where the bar ends. And if you go down, you could see it's right at the 4. So that's correct. Blue is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can see that the dark line is shaded right here, and if you go down by the end of the line, it's right here at 7. Now for yellow, it's 9. So what we would have to do would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we would have to shade all the way up until here, and if you went down, it's the number 9. And then lastly, red is 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's the dark line, and it's 5. So here's another example of a bar graph and how we can take information here and plot it or draw it on our graph. So it says Victoria is making a bar graph from her data. How many squares should she fill in for row 4? So over here she's comparing the flavors of ice cream. So she has 4 flavors: chocolate, chocolate chip, strawberry, vanilla. So we have the flavors of the ice cream as her title. We have the 4 flavors that she's comparing. And then over here would say how many and the numbers. And as you can tell, the numbers don't go from 0 to 10. Over here, it ends at 12. And that's because the numbers over here on her chart are greater than 10. 11 and 12 are greater than 10, so we just needed to include some higher numbers to include these numbers on her chart. So chocolate, right off the bat, is 12. So we would shade in all 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's all the way at the end of the graph, right there. Then we have chocolate chip, which is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you go straight down, right at the 7. Strawberry is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go straight down. 5. And then vanilla is 11. So we would have to shade in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it would have to end right here. If we went down, it would be 11. Here's another practice problem. This says Karen is making a bar graph from the data. How many squares should she color for the fourth row? So over here, we're comparing 4 types of fruits. Kind of fruit, which is the title. You could see it over here. Here are the 4 types of fruits: apple, orange, pear, banana, and the number of fruits or pieces, or you could say how many. And again, over here, we have 0 through 13, which is bigger than what we've usually seen, how it ended at 10. And again, we have these numbers go based off our charts. So we see that apples has 13, so we can't just leave the numbers ending at 10. We would need to include bigger numbers to include what our chart says. So now our chart ends at 13. So apple, we're graphing apple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Our line ends here. If we go straight down, we're at 13. Oranges are 10. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Our line or our bar ends right here. If we go straight down, it's right at 10. Pears are 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Our bar ends right here. If we go straight down, it's at 9. And bananas are at 12. So we would shade in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So our bar would end right here at the 12. And if you go straight down, we're at 12. And that was the last example for that. So in this PowerPoint that I showed you, we have different types of graphs that were introduced to you, the 4 types, but we mostly concentrated on bar graphs. So we had bar graphs, picture graphs, or called pictographs, pie graphs, which is the circle and looks like slices of pie, and then a line graph. So those are 4 types of graphs, but over here we mostly concentrated on bar graphs. These are used a lot and you would see them a lot. And again, this is just kind of an introduction to data, how we take data and how we graph it and how we read it.